What if the key to understanding ancient empires, huge religious moments, and even deep philosophical debates was hiding in plain sight, right in your kitchen? Today, we're going to talk about something so common we barely even think about it, but its story connects three completely different worlds. Yep, we're talking about vinegar.
I know, it sounds like the setup to a really strange joke, right? A tough-as-nails Roman soldier, a figure at the very center of a world religion in his final hours, and three of the most brilliant minds in all of Eastern history. I mean, what on earth could possibly link those three?
The answer is that one simple, sharp taste. Each of them had a really profound, defining encounter with vinegar. And their experiences, well, they show us three totally different ways of looking at the world.
Okay, so our first stop is ancient Rome. And here, vinegar wasn't just something you sprinkled on your food. It was, and this is no exaggeration, a critical piece of military hardware. So, let me introduce you to something called pasca. It was a basic sour drink pretty much for everyone who wasn't rich, and most importantly, for the Roman legions. While the elites were sipping on fine wine, the soldiers who were out there building and defending the entire empire, they relied on what was basically just sour wine mixed with water.
So why was this cheap drink so incredibly vital? Well, because pasca was like ancient battlefield science in a cup. Think about it. Its acidity killed the bacteria in sketchy water sources, which stopped soldiers from dying of things like dysentery. It was loaded with vitamin C, which kept scurvy at bay on those long marches. And, honestly, in the brutal heat of a Mediterranean summer, that sharp taste was just incredibly refreshing. You could almost call it the original sports drink.
And the recipe itself? It couldn't have been simpler. You just take some sour wine, water it down, maybe throw in some honey to cut that sharp taste, and toss in whatever herbs you had lying around for flavor. It was practical, it was portable, and it was literally a life-saving drink that marched with the Roman legions all across the known world.
So we go from the Roman barracks to a Roman execution, because that same simple drink, pasca, shows up in one of the most famous events in all of human history, the crucifixion of Jesus. And here, it transforms from a tool for physical survival into something with huge spiritual meaning.
Now, this is really crucial to understand. Jesus was offered two different drinks on the cross. The first one was wine mixed with myrrh, which was basically a narcotic meant to dull the unbelievable pain. He refused it. He chose to face what was happening with a clear head. But the second drink, the one offered later on a sponge, was that same Roman sour wine, pasca. This wasn't meant as an insult. It was just a simple way to wet his lips and throat. And this one, he accepted.
For his followers, this act was seen as the fulfillment of a prophecy. This verse from the book of Psalms, written centuries earlier, tied this everyday drink of Roman soldiers directly to a moment of deep theological weight.
So why accept the vinegar? Well, it was a practical need that served a profound purpose. That simple, sour drink gave him just enough strength to wet his throat and say his final, powerful words, a declaration that his mission was complete.
All right, let's take a journey way across the globe now, over to China. Because here we find a totally different take on vinegar's taste, not as a physical drink, but as a metaphor for life itself.
The scene is from a famous allegorical painting called The Vinegar Tasters. It shows the founders of China's three great philosophical traditions, that's Confucianism, Buddhism, and Taoism, all dipping a finger into the same vat. Now that vat represents life, and the vinegar, well, that's the raw, unfiltered experience of just being alive.
And each sage's reaction reveals their entire philosophy. Confucius tastes the vinegar and his face puckers up. It's sour. For him, this means life is out of whack. Society has gone downhill and it needs strict rules and rituals to get it back on track. Then Buddha tastes it and finds it bitter. To him, life is fundamentally about suffering, and that suffering is caused by our own desires. But then you have Lao Tzu, the founder of Taoism. He dips his finger in, tastes it, and he smiles. He finds it sweet. For a Taoist, life in its natural, messy, unaltered state is already perfect. The vinegar isn't good or bad, it just is. And experiencing things exactly as they are, without judgment, well, that's the sweetest thing in the world. So let's just pause here. One substance, three totally different realities. For the Roman, the Christian, and the Taoist, the simple taste of vinegar revealed their entire world.
First up, for that legionary marching across the desert, the sour taste was purely practical. It meant he had clean water, it meant he'd stay healthy, and it was refreshing. It was, quite simply, the taste of survival. Then, for Jesus on the cross, that exact same sour taste was about purpose. It was the physical tool he needed to achieve a spiritual end, that final sip that allowed him to declare his work was done. It was the taste of resolved suffering.
And finally, for those 3 Eastern sages, vinegar wasn't even really a drink. It was a philosophical test. Its taste, sour, bitter, or sweet, revealed their entire worldview. It was the taste of reality itself.
Survival, suffering, reality. You'd think that pretty much covers all the bases, right? But hold on a second. What if there's one more perspective? A fourth taste that maybe goes beyond all the others?
There's a legend that after the theologian Thomas Aquinas finished his masterpiece, Christ appeared to him and asked him what he wanted as a reward for all his hard work, and his answer is just profound. He doesn't ask for heaven or for wisdom or for an end to suffering. He just says, "Nothing less than you, O Lord." This points to a fourth taste, doesn't it? It's not sour or bitter or even sweet. It's the taste of pure devotion, where the goal isn't the experience itself, but the source of the experience.
And really, that brings the whole thing back to us, to right here, right now. Whether you see it as a practical problem to solve, a kind of suffering to get through, a simple reflection of reality to accept, or maybe an opportunity for devotion, when life hands you its own sharp, unavoidable vinegar, what will its taste reveal about you?